Welcome to Different Groups Working in Different Ways. In this lesson, we're going to look at why teachers allow group work and what the correct way to work in a group really is. So first we ask ourselves, why do teachers give group work? There are lots of reasons that teachers give group work, but these are the four biggest reasons. We want to help our students get the work done more quickly. Sometimes a really huge assignment can take a really long time, and we want to help you to get through it quickly. Group work is an opportunity for students to learn more and to learn from each other. In the real world, we don't do work all by ourselves. We have to work with colleagues. And by practicing working together and learning from each other, you practice a real-life skill, being able to work with colleagues. Teachers sometimes give group work just to let students have more fun. School is hard work, and we want to make it as enjoyable as possible. Teachers also give group work so that you can get the correct answers more quickly. Sometimes finding the right answer is going to take a very long time, and we want to give you every advantage that we possibly can. So here are the instructions. You're going to look at 6 different groups and read what each group, each person in the group, is saying and or thinking. For each group, you're going to answer the questions on your worksheet. If you don't have a worksheet, you'll be drawing the grid on a short piece of paper. Very short answers, like yes, no, or maybe, are acceptable. After looking at all 6 groups and completing the chart in part 1 of your worksheet, you're going to complete part 2. So here's group 1. You'll notice Computer Girl, Surprised Man, and George all have thinking bubbles. No one is actually saying anything. Computer Girl says, I don't know the answer, or rather she thinks it. Surprised Guy thinks George is smart, he'll do all the work. And George is just thinking, I hate these slackers. A lot of students feel this way when they're given group work. They know that their group members are going to do nothing and that they'll be expected to do all of it. It's pretty miserable. So now let's look at the chart. Is this group going to get their work done more quickly than if they were working on their own? No, they're not. Is this group going to learn more than if they were working on their own? No, they're not. Is this group having a more enjoyable time than if they were on their own? No, in fact, George is pretty miserable about it. Is this group going to get the right answers more easily than if they were working on their own? No, they're not going to get any answers. So what is one thing this group can do to work together more effectively? They can talk. If they just start talking to each other, they're going to work together more effectively. Here's group 2. This is a different group. Computer Girl is thinking, I still don't know the answer. Surprised Guy is completely distracted. He thinks, ooh, something shiny. But George says, here are the answers. This time, George has done all of the work, and he's just going to hand them all the answers. Let's do the chart. Is this group going to get their work done more quickly than if they were working on their own? Well, Computer Girl and Surprised Guy are, so yes. Is this group going to learn more than if they were on their own? No. In fact, Computer Girl and Surprised Guy aren't learning anything. They're just copying answers. Is this group having a more enjoyable time than if they were working on their own? Only some people. I mean, let's go back. Surprised Guy is quite enjoying something shiny. Is this group going to get the right answers more easily than if they were working on their own? Maybe. It depends entirely upon George. If George has found all the right answers and given all the right answers, then yes. But it all depends on George. So what's one thing this group can do to work together more effectively? Just share the workload. Just share. Here's group 3. Computer Girl says, I have the answer for number 1. Surprised Guy says, I have the answer for number 2. And George says, I have the answer for number 3. This is a method called divide and conquer. Divide and conquer works great for tasks that it doesn't matter who does what. If your mom says, we can go to the beach when the dog gets walked, the laundry gets folded, and the dishes get done, and you and your brother and sister divide it up so each person does one chore, everything gets done and everyone goes to the beach. But group work is very rarely like that. And let's look at why. Is this group going to get their work done more quickly than if they were working on their own? Yes, they're going to go very quickly. Is this group going to learn more than if they were working on their own? No. In fact, they're going to learn a third as much because each one is only finding 1 out of 3 answers. Is this group having a more enjoyable time than if they were working on their own? Maybe. We can't tell. Is this group going to get the right answers more easily than if they were working on their own? Again, maybe. It depends on whether or not everyone actually found the right answers. So what is one thing this group can do to work together more effectively? Simply work on one question at a time. Everyone does number 1 together. Everyone does number 2 together. Everyone does number 3 together. Let's look at group 4. Computer Girl says, and that's why I think the answer is giraffe. Surprised Guy says, I agree, and I found a quote on page 18 to support our answer. Meanwhile, George is thinking, ooh, a duck! I don't know where he's seeing a duck, but he's very excited about it. Let's do the chart. Is this group going to get their work done more quickly than if they were working on their own? Yes. Is this group going to learn more than if they were working on their own? Yes, but not George. George isn't learning anything. Is this group having a more enjoyable time than if they were working on their own? Yes. Surprised Guy and Computer Girl have someone to talk to, and George is quite enjoying his duck. Is this group going to get the right answers more easily than if they were working on their own? Yes, because they're working together. Well, everyone except George. So what is one thing this group can do to work together more effectively? Involve everyone. Ask George what he thinks. Remind George that he's supposed to be helping. George probably isn't trying to be a slacker. He just got distracted. Here's group 5. Computer Girl says, I found the answer on page 12. Surprised Guy says, no, that's a different character talking. Here's the answer on page 2. You're dumb. Meanwhile, George is thinking all they do is fight. Is this group going to get their work done more quickly than if they were working on their own? No, they're spending so much time fighting, they're not going to get done quickly. Is this group going to learn more than if they were working on their own? No, they're not. They're not learning anything. They're just fighting. Is this group having a more enjoyable time than if they were working on their own? No. They're not having fun. They're fighting. Is this group going to get the right answers more easily than if they were working on their own? Again, no. Notice, group 5, the group that's trying to get it done, but they're just fighting, is doing just as badly as group 1. The one where no one was talking, where everyone was just sitting there staring at their paper. So what can group 5 do to work more effectively? Disagree politely. There is a correct way to disagree. You'll notice, Surprised Guy isn't attacking the answer. He's saying that you're dumb. He's insulting Computer Girl, so she found the wrong answer. Disagree politely. And here's group 6. Computer Girl says that's why the answer is Komodo dragon. Surprised Guy says, I disagree. I think the answer is kangaroo because it says so on page 8. You'll notice he said I disagree, not you're wrong. This is a much nicer way to disagree. And George jumps in. I agree with Surprised Man. Page 9 also supports kangaroo as the answer. So now we have 2 quotes that support the answer. Meanwhile, Computer Girl jumps back in and she says, you're right, it's kangaroo. Let's fill in the grid. Is this group going to get their work done more quickly than if they were working on their own? Yes. Is this group going to learn more than if they were on their own? Yes. Is this group having a more enjoyable time than if they were on their own? Yes, because they've got people to talk to. Is this group going to get the right answers more easily than if they were on their own? Yes. And what is one thing this group can do to work together more effectively? They're already perfect. They don't need to change anything. They need to keep doing what they're doing. They need to keep working together, one problem at a time. They need to keep providing reasons for their answers, and they need to continue to disagree politely. So here's your assignment. Write one paragraph explaining what you will do to work effectively in your group. Remember, a paragraph has 5 to 8 sentences. The trick to this assignment is that you need to state what you are going to do. Don't tell me that everyone in my group will disagree politely. Tell me what you are going to do. Use something like, if I disagree with someone, I will say, and then write down what you'll say.